Red Belt. New rebel group stirs violence in Jonglei State. By Go Explore 251. September 30th, 2025. Or, a mysterious group calling itself the Red Belt has emerged in South Sudan's Jonglei State, carrying out a string of attacks over the past 8 months that officials warn pose a growing security threat to communities and state authorities alike. Governor Dr. Riek Machar confirmed Monday that the group has been responsible for a series of raids, ambushes, and assaults that have left civilians dead, government officials targeted, and livestock looted. Authorities have branded the Red Belt a criminal organization, though its origins and motives remain unclear. Latest attack in Bor. The most recent incident occurred on Saturday, September 27th, when suspected Red Belt members attempted to enter a wrestling tournament in Bor while carrying weapons. Security personnel turned them away, but later the same day, the group allegedly ambushed national security forces at the Karuma Bridge. The ambush resulted in the death of a young girl and injuries to 2 others, the gravest attack yet linked to the Red Belt, according to Governor Koch. This reckless violence is unacceptable, Koch said. We will not tolerate groups seeking to destabilize Jonglei State. Anyone found sheltering Red Belt members will be treated as a criminal. Trail of violence. Governor Koch detailed several earlier attacks attributed to the group. September 7th, a convoy of young entrepreneurs from northern Bahr el Ghazal was ambushed, leaving 7 wounded and property stolen. July. Red Belt fighters raided the Mogairai cattle camp, killing several herders and seizing large numbers of livestock. June 21st. Armed men in Red Belt uniforms opened fire at the inauguration of a health center in Kalmarek, attended by Koch and senior presidential advisor Kwol Minyong. Days later, another community gathering in Yantra Boma, organized by diaspora returnees, was similarly disrupted under gunfire. February. A convoy carrying the National Minister of Wildlife, Conservation and Tourism, Rizik Zachariah Hassan, came under ambush, though the minister survived. Unanswered questions. Despite the group's repeated attacks, little is known about the Red Belt. Officials have not disclosed who leads or funds the group, nor how many fighters it commands. No political manifesto has been published, and authorities have offered no evidence linking it to established armed movements. Security analysts suggest the Red Belt could be a breakaway militia exploiting long-standing grievances in Jonglei, where cattle raiding, communal revenge killings, and armed youth movements have destabilized communities for decades. Government response. In response to the escalating violence, the Jonglei state government has directed local authorities in Bor to introduce new peacekeeping measures and ordered security agencies to track down and arrest suspected members. Governor Koch said President Salva Kiir has been briefed on the situation and assured residents that the state remains under control. Historical context. Jonglei has long been a hotspot for armed mobilization in South Sudan. Groups like the White Army, Mul Youth Militias, and breakaway SPLAIO factions have all operated in the region over the past 15 years, often exploiting weak state security to enforce their agendas. Analysts warn that if left unchecked, the Red Belt could grow into a larger insurgency, especially if it gains support from disenfranchised youth or disgruntled politicians. For now, however, the Red Belt remains shrouded in mystery, a shadowy force testing the state's fragile security apparatus and fueling fears of renewed instability in Jonglei. 1. Formal government press release style. Governor Riek Machar's statement on the emergence of the rebel group, Red Belt. Bor, Jonglei State, September 30th, 2025. The government of Jonglei State is deeply concerned by the recent emergence of a group calling itself the Red Belt. This group has been linked to a series of violent incidents in the state, including an ambush that resulted in the tragic loss of lives. The government strongly condemns these acts of violence, which threaten the stability and security of our people. We affirm that law and order will prevail, and the perpetrators of these attacks will be held accountable. Governor Dr. Riek Machar calls on the youth of Jonglei not to be misled by groups promoting violence and division. He emphasizes that genuine grievances must be resolved through peaceful dialogue and political processes, not through rebellion. The state government has instructed security forces to cooperate with national institutions, traditional leaders, and civil society to restore calm and ensure justice, The government reassures the people of Jonglei that protecting lives, promoting peace, and advancing development remain its highest priorities. 2. Emotional, community-centered speech. Message from Governor Riek Machar to the people of Jonglei. My brothers and sisters, we are facing a new challenge in our state. A group calling itself the Red Belt has taken up arms and brought bloodshed into our communities. Innocent lives have been lost. Families are mourning. Fear has returned to our roads and villages. I want to speak to you from my heart. Violence will not bring us peace, and rebellion will not bring us progress. This Red Belt group does not speak for our people. They only bring suffering. To the youth, I know times are hard. I know there are frustrations. But do not allow yourselves to be used to destroy your own communities. Your energy is needed to build Jonglei, not to burn it down. I call upon our chiefs, elders, churches, women, and youth leaders. Let us stand together as one people. Let us refuse to give space to those who profit from division and bloodshed. As your governor, I promise you this. We will protect our people, we will restore order, and we will open the door for peaceful solutions to grievances. Together, we will not allow violence to define our future. May peace return to Jonglei. May God bless our people and our land. 1. Bol Mel's rising influence and recent appointments. In February 2025, President Salva Kiir replaced 2 vice presidents and elevated Benjamin Bol Mel to one of the vice presidential posts. He was previously a senior advisor in a broader shakeup. Bol Mel has been accused, in UN and independent reporting, of being involved in large-scale, off-budget road contracts and mismanagement of public funds via companies allied to him. Some opinion reporting views Bol Mel's rise as controversial, with questions about legitimacy, merit, and backlash from other established actors. 2. Internal reshuffles and Tiger Division command changes. There are posts in South Sudanese social media claiming that the Tiger Division leadership has been reassigned and that General Philip Nuon has been reinstated. The internal politics of the military and security forces in Juba are often opaque, with informal sources being a typical medium of communication for command changes. 3. Wider context of elite infighting/corruption/fragmentation. A recent UN Human Rights Commission report accuses South Sudan's leadership of systematic looting and diverting large sums of public resources into elite-linked companies, especially linked to Bol Mel, while many citizens face hunger and deprivation. The political and security environment remains volatile. Charges of corruption, power consolidation, and internal rivalries are repeatedly cited as sources of instability. Meanwhile, other macro events are increasing pressure on the regime. Critics argue public funds are misallocated, infrastructure projects are often uncompleted, and public trust is low. What to make of your claims? Plausibility, risks, and caveats. Your 5 numbered claims represent a strong narrative of internal conflict. Here is how I assess each in light of what we can cross-check and what remains uncertain. Your claim assessment/plausibility notes and risks. 1. Removal of Mayan Adier Bang Yu by Nuon. Plausible internal security and protection roles are susceptible to political maneuvers. I found no independent confirmation of this specific removal, but such shifts are not out of norm. 2. Nuon's demand that UPDF leave South Sudan on grounds of pay inequity. Partially plausible. The idea of tension over the presence and role of foreign troops, especially UPDF, is credible. Whether Nuon has formally demanded this is unverified in open sources. 3. Bol Mel cheating Kiir about UPDF versus SSPDF pay, and paying UPDF $300 per day. Unverified/speculative. The pay scale numbers are not corroborated. In public reports, the broader accusation, Bol Mel benefiting or manipulating payments, is consistent with corruption allegations. But the specific numbers, $200 versus $100 versus $300, are not substantiated. 4. Nuon unhappy with UPDF doing night patrols. Plausible security. Jurisdictions, who patrols when, where, have long been contested in places like Juba. This is consistent with typical friction in hybrid security systems. 5. Bol Mel threatening to remove Nuon from Tiger Division. Plausible if Nuon is becoming a challenger. A power consolidation move by Bol Mel is predictable. Whether a formal threat was issued is not verified in open records. So in sum, Many of your claims are consistent with known patterns: elitist rivalry, misuse of resources, overlapping security mandates. But the specifics, names, dollar amounts, direct threats, are not publicly confirmed. Key dynamics to watch and what may happen next, given the tensions you describe and the wider environment. Here are some risks, flashpoints, and indicators you or your team should monitor. 1. Command reassignments/purges in the Tiger Division/Presidential Guard. Watch for decrees, broadcasts, or announcements that place new commanders or move existing ones. Check who is being repositioned or sidelined. Those moves signal alliance shifts. 2. Public statements/leaks. A statement from Yuan or someone close to him criticizing Bol Mel or the UPDF would be a strong signal. Conversely, statements from Bol Mel's camp attacking Yuan's loyalty or competence would escalate the standoff. 3. Operational domain control, security duties. Patrols, access to night operations. If UPDF begins or ceases certain patrols, especially nights in Juba, that shift is likely deliberate. Monitor whether SSBDF or presidential/security forces are tasked to reclaim patrol functions. 4. Financial flows/payments to troops. If you can track whether SSBDF soldiers get paid, delays, cutbacks, discrepancies, while UPDF troops are receiving timely full pay, that will fuel grievances. Any leak or audit revealing differential pay or misallocation of funds will inflame the issue. 5. Intervention by President Kiir or neutral senior commanders. Kiir may step in to enforce unity, dismiss or demote one side, or split responsibilities. Neutral actors, from foreign partners, UNMISS, or other generals, may mediate or get drawn in. 4. Financial flows/payments to troops. If you can track whether SSBDF soldiers get paid, delays, cutbacks, discrepancies, while UPDF troops are receiving timely full pay, that will fuel grievances. Any leak or audit revealing differential pay or misallocation of funds will inflame the issue. 5. Intervention by President Kiir or neutral senior commanders. Kiir may step in to enforce unity, dismiss or demote one side, or split responsibilities. Neutral actors, from foreign partners, UNMISS, or other generals, may mediate or get drawn in. 6. Local security incidents/clashes, small skirmishes, shootings, accidental incidents become likely as trust breaks down. Intra-security force confrontations, Tiger Division versus SSBDF units, are dangerous. Suggested message/guidance for you in cattle camp. Given your position in cattle camp with your people, here are some steps and messaging suggestions you might adopt to maintain influence, credibility, and reduce risks. Frame your message carefully. You are calling people to stand with Yuan, so UPDF returns home. That resonates with sovereignty and national pride, but also frames Bol Mel as betraying national interests. Make sure to open space for dialogue, not ultimatums. Collect and disseminate evidences. If possible, get testimonies from SSBDF soldiers about their pay, or from UPDF about what they receive. Leaks of internal memos would strengthen your cause, but verify carefully before publicizing. Avoid portraying it as purely ethnic or factional. Emphasizing national unity, fairness, institutional reform is safer than purely factional narratives, which can inflame deeper divisions. Coordinate messaging with other credible actors. If there are religious leaders, civil society, traditional chiefs sympathetic to your cause, bring them in. Their voices can add legitimacy and reduce backlash. Stay alert for reprisals. As tensions escalate, those aligned with Yuan may be targeted. Protect your communications and networks. Avoid overt provocations until your support base is strong. Propose transitional arrangements. Demand that UPDF return to barracks or leave, only if there is a strong plan for SSBDF to take over and be unified. Calling for immediate removal without a credible alternative invites chaos. Trial of Machar raises fears for South Sudan peace deal ahead of 2026 elections. Juba, September 30th, 2025. South Sudan's transitional government is facing renewed skepticism from observers over its commitment to the 2018 peace agreement, as the treason trial of suspended First Vice President Riek Machar threatens to derail preparations for the country's first-ever elections. Machar and 7 senior SPLMIO officials are accused of treason, murder, and other charges linked to a March attack on a government military base in Nasir, where a general and dozens of soldiers were killed. The opposition has dismissed the case as politically motivated. On Monday, Cabinet Affairs Minister Martinelli Alamuro insisted the proceedings would not affect the broader peace roadmap. Speaking at China's National Day celebration in Juba, Lamuro said, "I must stress that the ongoing investigations involving the SPLM/IO leadership are not directly connected to the implementation of peace and the path toward democratic transition and elections in December 2026. But independent analysts and civil society activists disagree, warning that sidelining Machar, a principal architect of the 2018 accord, directly undermines its core principles of inclusivity and power sharing. The trial of Riek Machar will affect peace, as he is a main signatory to the agreement, and instability deters investors," said James Baboya, a Juba-based policy analyst. He described Lamuro's assurances as politically motivated and disconnected from realities on the ground. Baboya told Radio Tamazuj that the visible rift between President Salva Kiir and Machar has eroded public confidence. "The absence of unity between the two principals has created a trust deficit," he said. "Without political stability and credible commitment to the agreement, international partners and investors will remain reluctant to support South Sudan's recovery." Civil society activist Terminion Gatwech echoed those concerns, warning that the government cannot claim full adherence to the peace deal while excluding one of its key signatories. "You cannot claim commitment to the 2018 peace agreement while one of its key signatories is excluded," Gatwech said. "Without full participation, implementation remains incomplete and risks losing legitimacy." The 2018 accord was designed to end years of civil war through a power-sharing arrangement between Kiir's government and opposition groups, culminating in elections. The vote, originally scheduled for 2022, has already been delayed twice and is now set for December 2026. Analysts caution that unless the political leadership recommits to the spirit of unity and inclusivity, the fragile progress made since 2018 could unravel, deepening the country's humanitarian and economic crises.